So news keeps on delivering, everybody. No Man's Sky Beyond is actually No Man's Sky 2.0. I'm not even kidding. I wish I was, but I'm not. No Man's Sky Beyond is going to be 2 times bigger than the next update, which is already huge to begin with, and all of this is according to uploadervr.com, which is this website that posted about No Man's Sky in the past, especially on the VR stuff of things, and they recently flown to Hello Games headquarters. They have been playing Beyond. They actually played it long before the trailer dropped yesterday or this week. They played for at least a few months because they covered this back in the beginning of the summer as well. So anyway, there's a ton of information over here that pretty much blew my mind. I mean, I'm talking about so many systems that you wouldn't even believe. I'm talking about planets with roaming NPCs, a cooking system, a ton of changes to existing features, and a ton of other stuff for all of the players who are not interested in VR or online at all. So the third component, according to this article over here, is basically No Man's Sky 2.0, and there's a lot of information in it, so let's jump right in because it's absolutely crazy. And of course, this is a little bit about VR, about online. All of it kinda blends in together to create this whole unique experience that you can play in either VR mode, either with friends, either alone. So of course the player count has now been increased to a whopping 32 players. This is the maximum, according to this article, that you can meet in a space station, in the Nexus, and it's basically and essentially double the amount of players that we had before, and about 8 times more than you were able to interact in the past. So from 4 players to 16, 32, it's just crazy, dude. Just imagine 32 other travelers in the same space station as you. It's absolutely incredible. So of course they explain a little bit more, they go on a little bit more detail about how this works. So suddenly these worlds I've known to be isolated, often hostile and always alien, appear to be brimming with life and civilization. At first it gives me pause to thought. I know lots of people want this kind of social experience, but there is something to be said for the solitude of solo adventuring, especially in dystopian universe. So again, as I was saying, do not worry if you have any worries about not being able to experience Beyond properly because you don't have a headset. Rest assured that there's a ton of information coming in, that there's plenty in this update for anybody. So going over all of the details, at some point I believe Sean Murray goes in a little bit more on pretty much a bunch of the 100 or more so changes that existed in the new update. Of course, No Man's Sky 2.0, that is what it's called. And it says he presents, of course referring to Sean Murray, a comically long list of tweaks, changes and additions that address all areas of the No Man's Sky experience. It includes things like creature riding, farming. So farming, guys, we talked about farming literally a few hours ago and it's actually in the game. There's cooking, this is from the cooking system that has been data mined, new galactic maps, NPC encounters on planets, bigger bases and much more. There's even a logic system in place which the Hello Games team has used to build their own take on Rocket League on one planet. Just imagine that, Rocket League in No Man's Sky. Playing with your friends Rocket League in space is probably the best thing you can think of, considering that the exocrafts are so freaking cool, at least in regards to just exocrafts and what you can do with vehicles, with terrain vehicles in this game. That is such a massive undertaking. I mean, I'm blown away by this. Murray tells me that the list of changes is more than twice as big as 2018's No Man's Sky Next, which was no small update either, so it definitely wasn't. The thing is that, as the article explains, Hello Games had to do this, had to streamline all of these features so that it all makes sense when each component is played together in VR with your friends as a full-on experience. So obviously we're to talk about the VR, but those changes are just as crucial to the part of the game. As you probably already know, everything we're talking about here applies to the VR version of No Man's Sky, from the multiplayer to the farming and yes, the creature riding. Not only have these been carefully inserted into an already massive game, they've been tamed and optimized for the unwieldy world of headsets. It sounds like a Herculean effort, but from what I've seen so far, the implementation is nothing short of magnificent. So at one of the points, the article mentions about what technical difficulties Hello Games had to go through in order to make the sense of scale in No Man's Sky VR just right. We already talked pretty extensively about the scale of many of the objects that have been shown in the trailer, such as for example the ships, the vegetations, but it seems that everything has actually been rescaled and even improved visually and detail-wise to live up to the expectations of VR. So for example, if you're going in a base, the size of the entrance has to be just right so you don't bump your head, even though technically your character fits that door, it also has to look good in VR. Or for example, if there's a crate above your head, that has to be placed properly. So of course everything has been redesigned, everything has been reshaped to better make sense in VR. Ship is just one of them, but bases are as well. So according to the interview again, the scale, oh my god, he says, of initial development, our character does technically fit inside the ship and fits inside the vehicles, all of that kind of thing. You just play it and you think, no, in my head the ship was really big. And it's really effing small, it's mind-blowing. Going through doorways and stuff, technically the character does fit through it, but I feel like I'm going to bump my head. It feels like, oh my god, that crate, how low down has that crate been? They pretty much had to add extra details to their interiors so that it stands up to the scrutiny of VR. This means that if you're not even playing the VR version of the game, you're still going to see that increase in quality because everything on the inside is going to look much better, since it has to look better up close when you're with your VR on and you want to look at some of those details. And there's even an explanation how this goes when you're mining, and this is going to be very interesting. When you're mining you're going underground, and this one lets you burrow into the surface of planets. It's an immediate wow moment, housing yourself in a network of caves you yourself created. Other moments, like surveying a snowy landscape as 3 teammates jog across it and marveling at the never tiresome transition from atmosphere to orbit, are just as transfixing. Also, there's a lot more details about how some of the systems in VR pretty much work. Like for example, when you want to translate a new language, it kind of gives you a intuitive translator. So you turn on the analyzer mode, and you do that by putting your hand up the head and pull the trigger, or grab, for example. This is the grab button on the actual controller. So you jump out of the cockpit by actually lifting your ship's windshield up, which again is very intuitive. But yeah, of course all of this will be much more fun in multiplayer, and the game gives us a lot more possibilities to join with other players, simply interact with them, make joint exploration missions and all of that. Even that is being talked about throughout the article. I'm even going to link it down below, but it goes in a bit more detail over here. So Beyond brings a lot of new features to No Man's Sky Online offerings, including a space station where the 32 players on a server can all meet up and connect, chat, and go out on a mission together. It's here where you can show off your ship, teleport to yours or other people's bases, and even form squads with groups of players to start going on missions with. It depends what types of missions we have. Maybe there's going to be new missions, it would be nice, but Murray says Hello Games will start hosting community missions that everyone can take part in week in, week out. So this is pretty much confirming that we're gonna have the community missions back in the game. For those who didn't know this, there's this Quicksilver merchant. He sells a lot of vanity stuff, and yeah, Quicksilver can only be acquired by doing these community events or missions, and now this means it's going to be even better and easier and more fun to actually go in with other players, do these missions together, and just group up and just have fun. This is amazing, and you can play with your VR friends, with your non-VR friends. You can continue with the same save file. By the way, back it up just in case. The VR support already looks awesome, but even for non-VR fans, this is going to be a very good game. Like, the team has seen even VR and non-VR players split up and designate tasks depending on what jobs best fit their mode of play. VR support could bring about some fascinating behavioral changes to the community, so it's really interesting to see how this happens. Of course, this is not the only article on the subject. There is another one actually less lengthy, and I'm also suggesting you guys to go ahead and check this video out because it's really awesome. The article itself definitely contains quite a little bit of detail. Basically, the idea is to create the most robust, stable version of the game yet seen, whilst also streamlining its structure to make it accessible to players old and new. Hello Games wants to give people starting out fresh the chance to find their own playstyles and make sure returning players from 3 years ago don't get lost in the swarm of additions. So yeah, just a few more days guys, 5 more days until No Man's Sky VR launches. All of the news I'm seeing so far are beyond exciting, I mean even better than the next update. So we'll most probably find out more about the update as each day passes by and we get closer and closer to release, but for now, this is all of the information that I have. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.